I'm Brian Graff, and welcome to Unhacked. We're here every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern to take you through the cybersecurity topic of the week. We will cover the what, where, when, and why for the most recent hacks and security events, and provide you with key takeaways on how you can learn from the attack to prevent it from happening to you. As always, this report was sourced using several sites. I have listed those links to the sites in the description of this video. Today on Unhacked, camera giant Canon suffered a ransomware and breach attack on August 6th, and the attack continues. The group Maze, which is the name of the group carrying out the attack and the malware used to carry out the attack, has taken credit for an attack causing widespread system issues in Canon environments, according to the website The Bleeping Computer, who initially broke the story. Canon released a notice distributed to its internal IT team warning that basic mail and messaging may not be available, which is standard for a ransomware attack. Maze also hit Xerox and LG earlier in this summer. Those hacks are back in the news now, as Maze has published some of the stolen data from each of those attacks, in retaliation for those organizations not paying the ransom. Just a quick recap. Cybersecurity attacks affect businesses in one of two ways. First off, disruption of business operations through attacks like DDoS, which is distributed denial of service, where a business website is overwhelmed by internet traffic, limiting or preventing legitimate business customers and internal personnel from procuring or providing services. The second way is stealing data and selling it online or ransoming it back to the organization, usually a combination of both. Maze's business model combines both of these types of attacks. According to securityintelligence.com, Maze is a hacker group that has grown into a cybercriminal conglomerate, complete with business partners, a PR team, a news site, and a ransomware as a service platform used by its customers to carry out multi-pronged attacks against European and US businesses. The group aims to exfiltrate business data and lock down systems demanding ransom within a deadline, after which they will leak the stolen data. They leak the data on a dark website accessible by Tor and other dark web browsers. Groups like Maze mirror legitimate businesses in every way, minus the revenue stream, of course. They even take into account the impact that COVID-19 has had on their victims' businesses and adjust their data release service rates accordingly. Earlier this year, Maze locked down travel agency CWT's entire back office, grinding the agency's operations to a halt. Maze's initial $10 million ransom was reduced to a $4.5 million ransom, noting the utter devastation the coronavirus pandemic has wreaked on the travel industry. Don't say they never did anything for you. How does a group like Maze infect victim organizations with ransomware? The easiest way is to trick an employee into downloading and installing an exe file, usually via a phishing email. The user clicks on a PDF file attachment or link that looks like, say, a DocuSign invoice, and the damage is already done, particularly if the organization does not have endpoint protection, secure email gateway, and SIM in place to detect and prevent the attack. Or at a minimum, spreading the infected workstation to the entire network and encrypting files, rendering systems inoperable. If none of these security mechanisms are in place, the exe will then begin mapping out the entire corporate and production network and will not stop spreading if the networks are not segmented via firewall or security groups. The exe will also establish a connection with the hacker network, allowing them a real-time view of your organization's communications, email, Skype, IM, they can see it all. Now, ransomware can be thwarted if an organization has an effective backup restoration and business continuity processes. If I can restore my system from backup and run operations from a failover site, there's no need for me to pay the ransom. The hackers will look to see if organizations have backup systems in place. That is what the reconnaissance part of the ransomware attack is, an attempt to infect them as well. Increasingly, their software can do this automatically. If they can spread to your backup systems and to your failover site, then congratulations, you just spent a large amount of money to implement backups you can't access and now have two networks that are now useless. Although we do not know exactly how Canon, Xerox, and LG were infected with Maze, it is safe to assume that someone at each organization clicked on something they should not have. Unlike the incident reported on last week at Intel, which, according to that organization, was perpetrated by a business partner with legitimate access. If you missed that stream, don't go back and watch. That was my first time and I was really nervous. So how do you protect your company from getting posted on the Maze website? Well, there are a few things that you can do. First, teach your employees not to click on things they shouldn't. Think of how many emails you get every day. How many emails do you send your subordinates? How many times do you send those emails with the heading urgent or reply now or need to get to this, all caps? We all do it, and the hackers do it as well. If I spoofed your email address and sent an email to your subordinates with a similar message, would they click on it without even thinking? Would they open the attachment? Would they click on the link? Would they even pay the invoice that I had faked? Have you inadvertently trained them to do so? We all have. That's why security training is so important. Security awareness training must be provided to all of your employees upon hire and at least annually, although we recommend at least quarterly. The most important point your training must drill home is that, and I hope it's obvious but at this point, security is everyone's responsibility. Everyone. Every employee at every organization? Yes, every single employee, from the custodial staff to a factory worker to an accountant. Every single employee that has access to any of your IT systems is a potential vector for a hacker. Every single one of your employees must be considered as an IT security guard. Some of them are really, really bad at their job, but that is part of their job regardless. And it's not their fault if they're bad at their job if you, as the executive, as the employer, have not trained them properly or even informed them of this job requirement. Beyond assigning responsibility, training must teach the basics. First off, protect your passwords and your authenticators. If you use a cell phone for multi-factor authentication, that cell phone must be protected as well. Don't share your password with anyone, ever, for any reason. If you think your account has been compromised, or you suspect anything wrong in your system, or your email account, or anything related to the business, report it immediately. And think before you click. Do your employees use DocuSign? Do they click on links to pay invoices? Do they view documents in a repository like SharePoint or Confluence? It is very, very easy to fake an email that looks real enough to an overworked employee, especially if that's all they do all day. And if you don't have a secure email gateway to filter out these phishing emails, eventually your employees are going to get duped. Now, for a smaller organization, security awareness training can be achieved with, say, an all-hands meeting and a simple slide deck using Zoom or Teams. Organizations like SANS and NIST provide free training resources that you can use to put together a beginner security awareness program with the tenets I listed above. I have linked them below in the description. For larger organizations, a web-based learning solution like KnowBe4 allows for tailored security awareness training. Abacode manages these platforms for several larger customers. So let's say you've put a program in place. You've You've distributed it to employees. You've had your all hands meeting. You've gone through your security awareness basics. Your employees are now constantly on guard, vigilant for phishing emails, right? Are you sure? How do you know? The only way to gauge whether your employees are absorbing the training is to test them. Just like you must perform penetration testing on your network and applications, you must test your personnel security layer as well. You do this by performing email phishing campaign simulations, where you pretend to be the hacker and send fake emails, not obviously fake, to your employees to see if they click on the links that they shouldn't. Again, platforms like E04 provide this functionality, and Abacode can run them for you. You should run these every month, and the goal is to get a click-through rate. That's the ratio of employees that are duped by and actually click through a bad link over the number of emails that you send. That number should be under 2%. The first time you run a campaign, I guarantee your rate will be nowhere 2%. If it is closer to 40%, you are lucky. However, if you are an IT manager or a stakeholder and you know you need more security and are trying to make the case that you need this solution, Abacode can set up a free phishing campaign to give you this ammunition you need to go to your executives and try to get the budget and say, look, this is a problem that we need to address. Beyond that, again, a secure email gateway will help filter out many of these phishing attacks, but not all of them. And we could talk more about secure email gateways next week. But that's all the time we have today. Again, my name is Brian Graff from Abacode. If you find this information useful, please like and subscribe and hit the notification button. I'll be back next Thursday with